Hey friends, this is Arie of Pups Unleashed, and in this video I will go through the top mistakes that people make when training with rewards. Something that's important to understand is that I am only talking about reward-based training methodology in this video. If we were talking about top mistakes in general with training, this would be a way longer video and I'd be really serious about it. But we're just talking about reward-based training here. Remember, you should be training with rewards. It's the best way to go. And you want to avoid these 7 things when you're doing it. The first mistake that I frequently see with reward-based training is giving free rewards, free food. When you are training your dog, you want to operate under the assumption that nothing in life is free. So what that means is that you're not giving rewards willy-nilly just because your dog looks cute, just because your dog is lazing on your lap, just because they're begging. Oh my goodness, please don't reward that. So no more free food. Dogs are highly intelligent. There is a principle called contra freeloading in dog training, which is exactly what it sounds like. It's the idea that dogs want to earn their food, their rewards, rather than freeload. Just take it all in. They will lose motivation quickly if they never have to work for anything. We don't want a dog that feels helpless to getting their rewards and all those good things. We want them to feel like they're earning it, because what that does is it actually fosters confidence and curiosity in a dog, and it makes them much more resilient. So let them earn their food. It is not in any way being mean or too strict. It's actually what they want and how they do best. So let them earn their food. Number 2, a mistake that I frequently see is not rewarding frequently enough in the training process. So if you look at studies that compare professional trainers and just pet parents training their dogs in training scenarios, one huge difference is that professional trainers reward more frequently. You must reward frequently early on in the training process. So for example, if you're teaching sit and your dog doesn't know how to sit, at the beginning, 100% of the time that they do that correct behavior, you reward. You do it quickly, you do it after you say yes or some verbal marker, and you do it every single time. Because early on in the process, your dog has no idea what you're asking for. So the way that you teach them that is every time they do the right thing, you give that reward. And it sort of opens up the communication. If I do this, then I get this. That's ultimately how you form a new behavior. So reward every single time that new behavior is offered to you early on in the training process. The third mistake that I frequently see with reward-based training is not varying the rewards. If you find a food that your dog loves, that is great. Use it in training, but please don't only use that one food in the training process, because just like humans and a bunch of other intelligent organisms, dogs will get sick of the same food if you only use one in the training process. So think of your training food more as a menu instead of just one item. So make a list of all the new things you try if your dog likes them, and maybe score them like a 1, 2, or a 3 for how high value they are. Because then you can get creative later on as far as, okay, do I really need to motivate my dog? Because this is super tricky. Or is this something they know and kibble is fine? So vary the rewards and vary the value of the rewards. That way you can strategically use them in the training process. Another thing that you want to keep in mind, and a mistake that I very frequently see when people call me because they need help, is training with food visible. This is a very quick way to teach your dog that they only need to offer the correct behavior if they see you have a reward. And this happens all the time because just as humans, we don't think about the fact that having food in our hand is a clear signal to the dog, as opposed to doing something like hiding food in your back pocket or having it across the room. If you only train with visible food, your dog will only behave when you have visible food, and that is not realistic. So get in the habit of hiding the food while you train. I love to have caches of food hidden around the house that my dogs don't know about. I frequently have food in my back pocket. And if you train with the food hidden and then only reveal the food when they've done the right thing, it actually teaches your dog that you always have hidden food somewhere, even if you don't. And that is long-term how you get a dog that shows all these skills in all sorts of situations, whether or not you have food. So always keep that mindset of your dog thinks you have hidden food even when you don't. And that's how you get over that difficulty with training. The next mistake that I frequently see is not training in real life scenarios and not training with distractions. So it's one thing for your dog to know how to sit or stay or watch you when there's nothing else going on, or you're at a training class with other dogs and a professional trainer. However, if you never take those skills and then practice them in distracting settings, difficult settings, new settings, your dog will not be able to do those skills in those settings. So something that I frequently work with is when people took a group class and then they call me up and say, my dog knew all these skills and now they know nothing. Typically what I do is say, okay, did we practice with distractions? Did we practice at the park, on a walk, in the backyard? The answer is usually no, which means that's where our issue is. So once your dog knows these skills in a non-distracted setting, start taking them out and about and working on the same exact skills. The harder the environment, the higher the value of your reward at first. So this means bringing meat, bringing cheese, something that's really high value to those really tricky situations. Expect your dog to not do as well when you first go out and about in those distracting situations. That's why make it really easy. Drop down to earlier steps if you need to. Remember the training process you used when you were in your puppy class or with your professional trainer, and do the same thing. Even though in the house they don't need those easy steps, they do need it in a new environment. The more you do that, the stronger the behavior comes and the more generalized the behavior comes. So please take your training on the road. It is the way you have to go to have a dog that will perform in all situations instead of just in the ideal situation. The sixth mistake that I frequently see with reward-based training is not changing the reward frequency once your dog knows the skill. So here's what I mean by that. Earlier on, we talked about how in training, when you're first teaching a skill, you reward 100% of the time that the dog does the correct behavior. And that is true. That is not true forever though. Once your dog becomes fluent in a skill, so they can do it in your house, they can do it on a walk, they can do it at Home Depot or wherever you take them, then you need to change the reward frequency. So what that means is that you need to go from rewarding the skill 100% of the time, you're going to drop it down. So let's say we're talking about sit and your dog knows it really well. Don't give a treat for 100% of the time your dog sits. Maybe 50% of the time, maybe 30% of the time. You can switch it up. You want to drop the reward frequency down to keep your dog motivated. If you reward 100% of the time forever, it actually devalues the reward, because your dog can do the sort of thought process where, let's say you say sit, they're like, I'll just get the next sit. I don't need the reward this time because I know every time I'm gonna get it. That's not what you want. You want your dog thinking that maybe they'll get a reward, but they're not sure. So every single time they're gonna sit. And that motivating principle works extremely well. So drop down your reward frequency to like 1 out of every 3 correct responses, you give that food reward. And then the other responses, still praise, still pet, do those other things so they know they did the right thing, but don't give food 100% of the time. It keeps them super motivated. Also make sure that that's a randomized type of reward schedule. So you're not rewarding every 3rd time, you're rewarding maybe the first time, maybe the 3rd time, maybe the 2nd time, for example. Keep your dog guessing, keep it random, and keep it less frequent as when you first taught the skill. And then the final thing that I see as far as a common mistake is always teaching your dog that rewards come only from you or only from the household people. It's incredibly powerful for dogs to also think that the environment itself is rewarding them, because we don't want your dog to only think good things come from you, because then you might end up with a situation where they are glued to you all the time. They don't really want to interact with others or the environment because you're the only thing that brings rewards. So a really great way to foster that the environment can give rewards is to focus on enrichment. So this is as simple as hiding little bits of food, maybe in their crate for them to stumble upon. Maybe you go outside and you scatter some bits of food and then you let them outside and they find the food. Giving them enrichment and teaching them that they can earn rewards from the environment is extremely powerful for letting a dog feel like they have a little bit more control over earning their own rewards as well. So the rewards come from you, but they also come from their environment in such a way that they feel like they earn them. So those are my top 7 mistakes that I see with reward-based training, and all of them are pretty easy to tweak. You just have to be aware that they're mistakes and not part of the training process. So if you're going through the training process with rewards and you feel like you have that kind of sticking point, you don't know what's going on, please look at how you're rewarding, when you're rewarding, and what you are rewarding for. And once you identify the issue, you can nip it in the bud and you'll get better results in the long term. That's it for this time. As always, please make sure you like and subscribe for new content. Thanks so much for joining me, and I'll see you next time.